Welcome, everyone. My name is Marianne Dickinson, and I'm with the Alliance for Water Efficiency, and it's my distinct pleasure to welcome you to today's webinar, where we're going to be talking about the first state chapter of the Alliance for Water Efficiency, the California Water Efficiency Partnership. While we're assembling, a number of you are still signing on, as we can see on our webinar statistics here. Just want to give you a little bit of background information about the webinar. We are planning today to have a webinar that will be 60 minutes in length, but there will be time for questions. We're hoping to have at least 10 to 15 minutes for your questions. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, you know that you have already done the audio correctly. The options are to have audio through your telephone or through your computer microphone and speakers. So there are two different audio options that you can use. Just make sure you only choose one of them so that we avoid any feedback options. We will be muting the webinar phone line because we are recording this presentation. And the muting is necessary because there's usually a lot of background noise that's associated with doing these webinars. If all the attendees were open and unmuted, you would be hearing lots of paper rustling and coffee cups and people coming into the offices. So we've learned through some hard experience that by muting the phone line, we get a clean recording, but it doesn't mean that you can't participate. We very much want you to participate. And so we have the option to have you type in questions throughout the webinar that we will answer at the end. And the way you access the ability to type in those questions is by clicking the little orange rectangle in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. There's a little orange rectangle with a white arrow. When you click it, it will open a dialog box where you can type in any question that you have throughout the webinar. Liam will then read the questions that we have received in the order they're received, and our speakers will be happy to answer those questions at the end of the presentation. So what are our goals today? What we want to do is describe the history and all of the different events that led up to the creation of this first state chapter, the California chapter of the Alliance for Water Efficiency. We'd like to outline the reasons behind why we made this decision, clarify how the joint membership dues will be charged, and the bulk of the presentation, I think, will be to present the benefits for both the California chapter and for the Alliance for Water Efficiency members in general. So how do members in the other 49 states benefit from the creation of the chapter in California? And then lastly, we want to outline how to maximize your involvement in this. If you are a California member, right now, we'd like to encourage you to be involved in a number of different ways, and we will talk about that as well. So joining me today, I'm very pleased to say that we have Pete DeMarco, who is chair of the board of the Alliance for Water Efficiency. His day job is he's Executive Vice President for Advocacy and Research with IAPMO, the International Association of Plumbing and Mechanical Officials. And also we have with us Amy Talbot, who is the chair of the board of the California Water Efficiency Partnership. And Amy's day job is as Water Efficiency Program Manager for the Regional Water Authority in California. So they will be joining me, and will also speak to the benefits of the chapter creation. So let's just give a little bit of the history. And for those who aren't aware, AWE and California have been very well connected right from the beginning. There was an organization called the California Urban Water Conservation Council, founded in 1991. Its mission was to promote voluntary water conservation best management practices and to work with water suppliers throughout the state of California to implement them. And while we were doing that work, there was interest in creating something similar across the rest of the state, the other 49 states, a similar, more North American organization to what California had created for itself. And so the council received a grant in 2005 from the Environmental Protection Agency to conduct workshops and focus groups and surveys of all of the water conservation professionals around the country to determine the structure of what a potential national organization could look like. And that was the basis for creating the Alliance for Water Efficiency. You see here on the slide a cover of the report that we filed with the Environmental Protection Agency that actually discussed what the issues and options were for creating a national organization, including how the stakeholders voted what name it should have. We incorporated in April 2006. We chose our board, and they took office in January 2007. Chicago was selected as the headquarters location. We hired staff in July 2007 and opened up an office in September of that same year. And our first employees are still here. In addition to myself, we have Bill Christensen, who is our Director of Programs, and Jeffrey Hughes, who's Director of Operations. So it's been the core staff there since really the very beginning. Meantime, the California Urban Water Conservation Council was undergoing some changes. As I mentioned, that organization was created to do voluntary conservation. And so with the passage of a state-mandated target in California of a 20% reduction by 2020, the council was struggling with its former mission, losing members during this struggle, and the board ultimately decided to sunset the organization December 2016. And the reason I go through all this history is that the board voted to replace it with a brand new organization called the California Water Efficiency Partnership. And we were watching all these developments from the Chicago office, wondering how it would come to be, because it seemed that the goals and the vision for the new organization were very, very similar to what we had put together based on stakeholder input for the Alliance for Water Efficiency. So the question became, should we compete or should we collaborate? That was the issue on the table. And when I say they had similar goals, here's the list of the partnership goals that were promoted to the membership at the time the partnership was first forming. And as you can see by looking at the list, a lot of what's there is exactly what we do at the Alliance for Water Efficiency. So we thought, gosh, is there benefit to creating a duplicate organization and using the funds from members to do that, or is there a better option? So we started out by defining what the mutual interests were of the two different organizations. And I got myself appointed to the partnership board, so I was involved in a lot of these discussions. And we knew that each organization wanted to make sure that they could grow and thrive, achieve the things that they needed to do, but do it in a way that wouldn't hurt or damage the individual organizations, but instead build upon them and create an opportunity for more success. So maintaining organization branding, maintaining strong presence in California, making sure both organizations were financially viable, but making sure the benefits to membership were clear to the members and that the network for those members still remained intact, were all very important things. I mean, the obvious areas of duplication of services, projects, programs, or research, we knew that everybody agreed we shouldn't duplicate each other. We shouldn't be doing the same studies. But we especially wanted to avoid the perception of open competition. You know, the nonprofit world is a very small world. The funders all know each other. The members all know each other. The water conservation community is a pretty small community nationwide. So we thought collectively it made sense to develop some strategy for better collaboration. And as we looked at the membership structure for both organizations, it seemed really clear that collaboration would be the way to go. There were 300 plus member organizations already in the California Water Efficiency Partnership. We have 400 plus member organizations in the Alliance for Water Efficiency, but there was a lot of cross-pollination. A number of AWE's members were California members. We have the highest number of any state members were in California. So 122, the 400 were coming from California, and 98 members were members that were members of both organizations. We had 98 members in common. So we wanted to make sure that we would preserve those numbers, not have them dwindle, but have them grow. And so to define that, we needed to look at where the overlap was in organizational benefits, where there might be opportunities to share staffing, both at the management level, membership level, and technical assistance level. And then what functions could be combined to save costs for the membership over time, or to provide greater capacity and services. And the areas that were especially of interest were the areas of research in particular, but also advocacy, being able to leverage activity that was already on the ground. So the two organization boards began discussing this and looking at what the affiliation options would be, and numerous different models were considered, including a formal MOU defining collaboration. But the chapter status kept coming around as seemingly the most appropriate model. There were lots of national organizations that had chapters. The American Water Works Association is probably the best example. And so it seemed to make sense that we would consider doing it that way. There would be clear benefits that would come from the perceived mothership in Chicago, as well as clear benefits that would flow from a chapter that was directly involved with boots on the ground with its members. So both the California Water Efficiency Partnership Board and the Alliance Board approved chapter status and concept in August and September of 2016, and work started on developing a formal chapter agreement and developing the procedures for how we would link the two organizations together. And the first step was to do some shared management. So I resigned from the board of the partnership and applied for the job of executive director of the California Water Efficiency Partnership. And the board did agree that it made sense during this transition period to hire me to try to stitch the two organizations together. So I am a part-time executive director of the California Water Efficiency Partnership, as well as still the president and CEO of AWE. I spent time in both the Chicago and Sacramento offices to work through during this transition period. Eventually, very soon, there will be a permanent executive director at the partnership, but we want to get all of the pieces, building blocks together before that happens. And we want to certainly start the process of joint program development so that the membership sees the benefits of the chapter. The second step is examining the governance intersections, and we're both 501c3 organizations, so that makes it easy. Governance will remain the same for both organizations, and they will remain separate. Each board will govern its own activities, but a lot of the activities will be co-branded. So any new project that is developed will be co-branded with both the Alliance and the partnership. And as you can see from the logo there on the slide, there's a direct connection between the California Water Efficiency Partnership logo with its swirl and the Alliance for Water Efficiency. It clearly shows the connection of the two organizations. And so the co-branding, I think, is especially important for work that we do not only in California, but across the country as some of the California funds for research become of interest and benefits to other states as well. So the third step is taking a look at how the membership dues should be structured. And the agreement was made early on that all California members need to be members of both organizations. And for those that were already members of both, this was not a big change. But we wanted to set it up so that in the future, it would always be a joint membership, and the package for membership would be developed between the two organizations. So one set of membership dues have already been created. The cumulative dollar amount in a membership is the same for each organization as it was before, although in 2018, California Water Efficiency Partnership is offering a 10% discount on their side of the dues payment as an incentive to join. And all of the invoices are coming from the Sacramento office. So if you've historically been a California member of AWE, you are now going to get your invoice from CalWEP in Sacramento. That's part of the agreement that's been negotiated. So everything got launched. On March 7th, as you can see, we had an event to launch officially the California Water Efficiency Partnership. During this period of time, all of the legal stuff that 501c3s have to do got filed. New articles of incorporation, revised bylaws, a permanent board has now been selected, and quarterly partner meetings will be held with the membership of the organization. And the whole goal is to have the partnership be a very active presence in California, to be a very visible part of the Alliance for Water Efficiency in California. So switching gears to just talk a minute about the member benefits from the partnership side. We will also talk about them from the Alliance side, but let's talk about them from the partnership side. It's different now than when it was with the old CUWCC. Now that California is in this new sort of unique regulatory environment, it's going to be really important to get California water utilities and suppliers the best possible tools for dealing with these issues and making sure that they are able to meet the regulatory targets in as comprehensive and painless a way as possible. So this is a major goal for the organization. And one of the first things that CalWEP did was it took a look at what the membership benefits would be and what benefits would come from which side of the house. So they put together a flyer, which we'll also post online with the recording of this webinar. And this flyer shows what tools and materials are available from the CalWEP side and what tools and materials are available from the Alliance side. Both organizations are now going to provide all of these benefits to each other. There will be, uniform sharing cross-platform. And what that does is it helps leverage the membership dollars, grant funding, and staff resources that are going to be available in California to help meet those goals of the legislated targets, but it also benefits the rest of the country as well, because all of the work will be openly shared cross-platform. So again, I won't spend the time to go through this benefits graph, but it's a wonderful way to sort of characterize and show pretty clearly with all these little water drops that there's benefit on both sides from both organizations. And this flyer, if you're a California member, you got this in the mail with your invoice, so this should look pretty familiar to you. There's also a strategic plan that's been adopted that the February 7th board meeting adopted, and the printed copies of the strategic plan will be mailed to the membership with the dues thank you letters. It's a plan that has a whole suite of actions and tactics and programs to meet objectives that are being developed. So when people are saying, well, what do I get for my membership money? A lot of that detail will be in the strategic plan. There are 7 different goal areas in the strategic plan, and you can see in this list the wide variety of topics that the partnership's going to take on. Technical assistance, expertise and services, research and evaluation efforts, leadership in a wide variety of ways, and then building the organizational capacity for the organization. All of these goals are covered in the strategic plan with activities listed for how to meet them. But some programs have already been started. There's already been an avoided cost rate case study that has been done for the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power that was funded by some contract funds from the Department of Water Resources, and it documents that Los Angeles actually would have much higher rates had they not done conservation. And so that's a case study that will be posted soon and available to all. They've also launched an AMI, a program for developing standards for interoperability and for best practice implementation of AMI. And again, that's a California-funded project, but it's going to benefit the rest of the country. There will be other members of the Alliance for Water Efficiency community out of state who are participating. But I think one of the big areas that is a great contribution to the rest of the country from California is the whole drive toward a sustainable landscape market transformation, and especially working along the watershed basis, principles of design from a watershed perspective. There's a lot of great work coming out of California that we would like to roll out across the country. They're also going to be revamping their website, building online wiki toolbox. They're doing great peer-to-peer program training and water and energy programs, which Amy will talk about a little later. Here's a sort of detailed slide on the sustainable market transformation landscaping programs. Community-based social marketing surveys are being conducted and finished, will be finished very shortly and published. And training will take place sometime this summer and fall on how to do community-based social marketing in your landscape program designs. We're also partnering with QUEL, Qualified Water Efficient Landscaper Training Partnership, and so that's another benefit that, again, will roll across the country. But I think the partnership is jumping out with a splash to really train its conservation corps in what they call peer-to-peer training, which is putting conservation professionals in teaching roles with other conservation professionals. And this is the third one that they've done, and it's a very successful event. It'll be May 30th to 31st in San Francisco, and it builds and feeds the California network. It's a very important networking and training opportunity, and the opportunity to promote the latest successful practices and programs that have been shown to work both in California and across the country. So if you're interested in that, I encourage you to take a look at the peer-to-peer training materials. We've been promoting it through the Alliance for Water Efficiency as well as through CalWEP, so both websites have the program posted online. But then, of course, there's a whole section of AWE projects that are now open to CalWEP and provide benefits to the California members from all of the work that has been ongoing for the past 11 years, almost 12 now, at the Alliance for Water Efficiency. And one of the big areas that I think we can contribute is in an area of policy and advocacy, because historically, the conservation organization, at least recently anyway, has been very silent on advocating and expressing opinions on legislation or on regulatory standards. And that's something that I think the Alliance can help them through. We've been doing quite a bit of work at the federal level and also on the state level on various topics. You can see the list of them here. We're working hard to keep the WaterSense program funded and in existence. We need to get it authorized as well as funded, so these are tasks to do in Congress. We're working on congressional improvement in the tax code to make water conservation rebates tax exempt. They have not been tax exempt ever, although on the energy side, that's been true for 30 years. And there are a number of different areas that we've been doing policy advocacy work on, and you can see the list there. Water and energy, we're particularly active in that. You see a picture of me testifying before Congress on the nexus of energy and water. We're active in standards and codes. We sit in various code bodies and offer water efficiency expertise. And we also are available to help states with their legislative priorities, and we appear and file letters as requested by our state partners. So that's a model that we can not only continue to do this work which benefits the California members, but we can also provide guidance for how to do that within California. We also have analytical tools. Our most obvious one is the AWE Water Conservation Tracking Tool, which is a water conservation scenario planning Excel spreadsheet, which we make available free of charge to all members. Now it will be available to California members of the partnership. And it's actually designed with California Water Agency tracking needs in mind, because when the 20 by 2020 legislation was passed, we knew that there was the need to track changes in per capita consumption based on a given suite of conservation initiatives. And so this tool does a really good job of doing that. We're now on version 3 of the tool, which we launched in 2016, and we will continue to update it to whatever the emerging conservation framework requirements are. So we make sure we always have a tool that will help our members know that they are complying. So here are a couple of screenshots from it. It's a very user-friendly tool. I mean, it's hard to say Excel is user-friendly for people who are not necessarily accustomed to it, but it really is a fairly user-friendly tool. I'm not an Excel whiz, and believe me, if I can make it through it, I think most people will be able to as well. It gives you lots of great graphs that you can put in board presentations. It also is easy to enter information. It's all done through dialog boxes that are easy to fill in, and it creates, a suite of programs that you can analyze and save as various scenarios. Each scenario can be analyzed to show how much savings occurs on a year-by-year basis, how it changes your service area demand, how it changes your per capita demand. So it's a terrific tool for that purpose. And then it gives you a cost-benefit reading where you can see for each of the programs you might have chosen in a particular scenario, whether it's a cost-effective program or not. So a score of 1 or better means the benefits exceed the cost. And then there's a total overhead and program summary that shows that even if you've got a bunch of activities in there that are not individually cost effective, the overall program can still be greater than 1 because you've got some strong benefit from some of the other programs making up the difference. But there are lots of graphs and charts that help you analyze which are the cheapest ones to start doing first, which ones are the more expensive and should be perhaps prepped for later. These are all important things to examine. We've also built another model that deals with the subject of rates. The Alliance for Water Efficiency got very concerned about the revenue erosion topic and revenue stability issues that water utilities were facing nationwide. So we built an initiative called Financing Sustainable Water, and we hired Tom Cheffman and David Mitchell, 2 names well known to our California community, to write the handbook and to build a rate model to help water suppliers figure out rates that could still provide a conservation signal but would provide a better measure of revenue stability, including meeting the goals of Prop 218 in California. So all of this is based on a website called financingsustainablewater.org. It's got a lot of information on the site. Here's a screenshot of the website so you see what it looks like. There's lots of information on it, including things like these videos. We have 2 videos that have been created that, again, everybody across the country and in our new California chapter can use. This is a 3-minute video that talks about water, what you pay for, what the consumer's actually paying for when they pay for water. And then a second video that raises the question, why is my water rate going up? Why have I conserved? Why is it I'm paying more? And so it talks about the long-term benefits of conservation, how long-term it'll keep rates lower, but there may be some short-term issues that will need to be addressed. So it explains all of that in a great 3-minute video. We've also developed a program called NetBlue, which is a program to deal with the issue of new development. We were very aware that in some of the water-scarce communities, as consumers were being dialed back on their water use with various restrictions, they were seeing a lot of new development going in as well. So we developed an option for a community to decide that it would make its new development water neutral. And it was based on a lot of successful examples, many of which were in California, where we looked at how this potential offset strategy could be best deployed on a national basis. And we partnered with the Environmental Law Institute and River Network to put the program together, and we launched it last May. There's a recorded webinar if you want to listen to it. There's lots of tools available on our website, to enhance this. The actual model ordinance, an offset methodology workbook, outreach materials, all of that's available on the NetBlue web pages. But then we've done lots of research that, again, benefits our California members. Here's a study that also was funded by some of our California partners that evaluates the water savings potential and cost effectiveness of residential gray water systems done on a retrofit basis, not new construction, but are you considering issuing rebates for gray water retrofits? And if you are, is it cost effective for you? And so this study actually has the easy to follow methodology steps for determining the benefit cost ratio for a utility rebate program. And so again, there's another recorded webinar available on this study, but this is one that benefits our California members. Here's an additional one. We developed a commercial kitchens guide. We hired the Food Service Technology Center in San Ramon, California, to put this together with us. Target audience is the restaurant manager, and it's available only to members. We send you a free PDF, so we can sell you printed copies or print bulk orders for you. But this is a terrific, easy-to-use guide that I highly recommend you incorporate into your programs. If you haven't already seen it, and you're a member of us, give us a call. We'd be happy to share it with you. And then there's the topic of demand hardening. We were asked by our members, and again, a lot of them were in California, to look at the issue of whether demand really is hardened over time. Are long-term increases in water efficiency a problem? Can they negatively impact an area's ability to deal with drought or adapt to water shortages? And so this report, again done by a California water consultant, Neil Bamazai of Western Policy Research, provides information on what the actual effects are of demand hardening and how you can avoid it. You know, it is very rare that it occurs, but there are easy ways to make sure it doesn't occur. And so there's 7 different case studies that this report took a look at. We also did, again for our California members, a report on the lessons that we can learn from Australia's millennium drought and how that might help California during its drought. And here are the lessons that we found in working with the Institute for Sustainable Futures at the University of Technology in Sydney and the Pacific Institute. They were partners with us on this project. But it's very clear that you have to integrate long-term supply-demand planning and drought response. It has to be integrated. Choosing the best demand-side options and making the proper investment in them was a big, big lesson from Australia. So that's a great report that, again, that's available on the Alliance website. And then our most recent one that we've just done evaluates the national economic benefits to water efficiency infrastructure investments as the Trump administration considers doing an infrastructure bill at some point. We want to make sure that they consider water efficiency as an infrastructure investment. And it's an update of our original report that we did in 2008. Again, this is by David Mitchell of MCubed. But we wanted to do a new one that used more recent numbers from the in-plan model analysis and took a look at what the benefits would be right now of a federal investment. And the benefits are strong. Up to 260,000 new jobs would be created, economic benefit multiplier of as high as 1.5. So for every federal dollar that's spent, $1.50 of national economic output benefit is achieved. So this is a report also that is going to be distributed. We'll be actually mailing printed copies out to our AWE members, in the next month or so. So watch for that coming. It's also posted on our website. But probably the biggest thing I think we can do cross-platform is combining our research efforts. And outdoor water research is a big area of great interest to everybody around the country. And we have, as our loyal AWE members know, we have 2 studies that are underway right now. One on landscape transformation, and Technical Services is doing that study and has 15 participating and funding agencies, most of them, again, from California. And that study should be done probably late this summer, early fall of this year. And then a drought restriction study, again, worked by Western Policy Research and the Dallas Water Management. That study has got 14 participating agencies, again, mostly from California. Same timetable. By the end of the year, both of these studies will be done. And the purpose of the studies is to help advise water suppliers on what the most cost-effective options are for reducing outdoor water use, making it more efficient. What are the best ways to achieve that savings at the most reasonable cost? What are the issues involved with consumer uptake of these programs? And that's one of the focuses of this research. And our last research project that we just wrapped up a month ago is an examination of the states and what their policies are for water efficiency and conservation. We released the state's scorecard, and there's a recorded webinar on that as well. And I think it's really interesting to point out that California and Texas are the top scorers. They're only 1 point apart from each other. And what that says to me is when you've got the reddest state and the bluest state as the 2 top scorers, water efficiency is therefore a nonpartisan issue. It is an important topic no matter what your political persuasion is. So it's a fun fact to point out. I think both states have different ways that they have reached their scores, but it's a really interesting document to take a look at. We have a lot of the resources online for the scorecard, so individual state summary pages, fact sheets, and maps. That's all on our website, and so I encourage you all to take a look. But this is the kind of research that AWE then can provide to California members, as well as California members providing that back out. And we don't want to forget the consumer in all of this. The California Water Efficiency Partnership had a website, H2OUSC.org, the Water Saving Home. This was a site that was launched in, I'm trying to remember the year, I think we launched in 2002 from the California Urban Water Conservation Council. But it is not a site any longer that is live. The site's been hijacked by a private vendor. So any of you out there who have links on your website to it, you should take a look, because I don't think you're linking to what you think you are linking to. And I would encourage you, until this issue is resolved, and we're not sure how to resolve it at this point. In the meantime, link to the Home Water Works site of the Alliance for Water Efficiency. We should substitute that link in the meantime. This gives you a consumer website with a very friendly, user-friendly water calculator. It's an accurate calculator with a background database, ET database by zip code. So the outdoor water calculations are ET-based and very local in accuracy. And we can also customize the calculator for your water utility. So these are all options that are available. So my last slide here is, so how do you get more involved? There are ways to join committees and have an active voice in the organization. The Alliance for Water Efficiency has 3 member committees, WaterSense and Water Efficient Products, which is a committee that looks at new technologies, new products, and how they're regulated in the federal and state regulatory space. So we make comments on not only WaterSense specifications, but on regulations coming out of the Department of Energy or the California Energy Commission, or any of the places where product standards are being regulated, including in codes and standards. We have a Water Efficiency Research Committee, which takes a look at and develops the research plan for a lot of the projects you've heard me talk about. And then we have an Education and Outreach Committee that talks about pushing all of our materials out to not only consumers, but to the water conservation professional community. So the best way to get involved in the Alliance for Water Efficiency is to join one of these committees. Virtually all of our activities are funneled in some way through one of the 3 of these. But we're also going to be developing committees at the California Water Efficiency Partnership. And the committee structure is now being formed, but will almost certainly include a program committee with various subgroups for topics like landscape and commercial and industrial. So if you're interested in program development, you know, that's a committee that you should definitely join. We will probably have a separate research committee, at least to start with, but perhaps eventually a combined committee with AWE that will manage the projects on a combined basis. So those 2 are definite areas. Lastly, there will be what we call our listening tour of California members. There will be a very detailed survey that will be coming your way, asking you a lot of questions about how you would like this organization to better serve your needs. And that input will be funneled directly into not only the strategic plan, but the actual project lists that the staff will be undertaking at the partnership. So at this point, I think I've talked way too much. I'd like to turn it over to Pete DeMarco, who is the chair of the board of the Alliance for Water Efficiency, to talk about how he perceives the AWE benefits would accrue to our California members at the partnership.
Oh, thanks, Marianne. And first of all, let me just give a good little shout out to the all the CalWEP folks that dialed in, that are participating on our webinar today. I'm looking forward to meeting many of you, and in addition to hearing, you know, our ideas on how this partnership will, you know, add to the effectiveness and enhance both organizations. So, you know, I'm looking forward to hearing your ideas as well. So I do look forward to meeting with you and talking with you as we go forward. The benefits to CalWEP, gosh, you know, Alliance has been such a almost indispensable organization when you take a look at advancing water efficiency in the built environment since its creation 11 years ago, that it's a lot of these things I think are pretty much intuitive, but you know, bringing a national presence and perspective on issues that folks in California will be able to get a better insight to, and I think understand how things work, you know, outside the state, will be highly beneficial to folks. You know, our policy initiatives, specifically, we've been so effective. Marianne has done a great job on creating a coalition, and for 2 years in a row now, we've been successful in getting funding secured for the WaterSense program at the EPA. Since the Trump administration came into power, when they earmarked discontinuance for WaterSense both years in their budget, and fortunately, we've been very successful, largely through the coalition that Marianne put together through the Alliance, and putting partners together to advocate for the continuance of that program. And we know it works. We've heard from the highest levels of EPA staff that this has been extremely successful, and our efforts have been listened to and have been successful. We're going to continue to work hard to make sure that WaterSense does continue out into the future. And there's a lot of other things happening on a national level too that that I think the partnership will provide benefits for folks in California to pay attention to. You know, lead is a big issue, lead abatement. Legionella. I'm at a conference this week in Baltimore on the topic of Legionella and pathogens in water, and the federal government's involved with that. And there's going to be regulations that will be forthcoming and programs that are going to be announced, and the Alliance will be a great place to follow along and hear what's going on a national level on these issues. In addition to the policy work, representation at the codes and standards arena has always been one of the most important initiatives that the Alliance identify or puts resources towards, and that will continue. We would like to do to have even a greater presence at codes and standards venues, and we're hopeful that you know, going forward, as our budgets of both organizations are enhanced through this partnership, that we'll be able to even have a greater presence at some key codes and standards committees. But I can tell you for sure, you know, we have a couple of AWE members just on our IATMO committees, and they've been some of the most productive members in bringing new content towards our water efficiency codes. This work is critically important, and it really does is where the provisions that advance water efficiency get put into the construction codes in every building that's constructed going forward is all the more efficient based on those efforts at the codes and standards arenas. Regarding research and publications, Marianne, I think, has already done a great job of enumerating the various research programs that the Alliance has been involved with. I won't repeat them, but I will speak to the quality of those research efforts that are available for you to take a look at. The quality is really top shelf. When I take a look at the state's scorecard, the work that was just done recently on graywater efficiencies and cost of gray water and the paybacks of gray water, and this is information that is and research that's extremely well done, and I encourage all CalWEP members to get those free PDFs and take a look at this work. It's a really good efforts on the part of the Alliance, and you'll certainly learn a lot, and I'm sure you'll have staff folks that'll be able to utilize that information and be better prepared to address those issues that are addressed in the research report as you go forward. Of course, the Alliance, being a national program, has a national organization, does have a broad network of suppliers and businesses. We've done a really good job of attracting greater participation from utilities in the east part of the United States. Including getting some representatives from the East on our board recently. And that has enhanced our knowledge base, and I think it will, certainly enhance the discussions that go on as we go forward with our partnership. Just having access to those folks from the East will, I think, be informative to the folks in California and vice versa. Certainly those alliance members from the middle of the country and the East will certainly get a great benefit from listening to y'all and your expertise in California, where a lot of stuff starts and heads eastward. And these webinars, I think, are also a great benefit. And I know the Alliance typically likes to put on one a month. I think this year we have 13 slated webinars, Marianne.
Yeah, we have, yep.
13, and I tell you, I dial into every one that I can, as long as I'm not traveling or otherwise engaged, and I haven't heard one yet that where I haven't learned quite a bit from the folks that Marianne gets to speak on these webinars. They're always informative. And finally, all these webinars going forward will be co-branded. So going forward, they will be Alliance CalWEP webinars, and I think if you participate and listen into the majority of them like I do, I think you'll be very proud of the type of information that's put forward on these webinars as well. So in a nutshell, that's it. Once again, I do look forward to meeting with you and hearing what your ideas are to enhance our partnership. And at this point, I'll hand it back to Marianne.
Thank you, Pete. I think at this point we'll move over to Amy to talk about how CalWEP would perceive its benefits to AWE.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm just going to briefly summarize the CalWEP benefits to AWE members. First of all, CalWEP has really developed a comprehensive program on sustainable landscape. In general, it really focuses on the watershed approach, but we've added something a little bit different to focus on market transformation in the landscape industry from all angles, including industry folks, but also water agencies. We're also doing something more specific, like program evaluations, for example, for Cash for Grass programs, to see what different methods of implementation are out there. Do these programs really save water, and how much? So those are some of the things that we're doing for sustainable landscape. We also are doing the peer-to-peer training program that Marianne mentioned earlier. This is quite a bit different than a traditional conference program that really focuses maybe on lecturing, and it's more of creating dialogues between colleagues to share your experiences and hopefully improve the local efficiency programs. We've also, in development for AMI and water energy research programs, Marianne mentioned the AMI standards protocol, and then we're also looking at energy intensity studies for water delivery and perhaps joint water energy programs in the future. There's also joint funding of research and technical assistance programs with the goal of hopefully producing more research together that's relevant to both parties by passing a hat or pursuing grant funding than we could do by ourselves. We're also currently sharing staff and, as you know, an executive director, so there are some efficiencies to be gained by that. And then most importantly, I think we want to share our experience with the California water suppliers with this pending legislation that we will potentially pass very soon, in which water agencies will get a water agency level water budget that they will have to meet within a certain deadline. So I think this pending legislation will incite a fury of new programs and new research in order to meet these requirements that I think will be useful not only in California, but also for the nation and for AWE members. So just a quick overview, and I'll hand it back to Mary Ann.
Thank you, Amy. So I think we're ready to wrap up and go to our question period. And if you haven't already typed in a question, we would encourage you to do so, to type it into the dialog box in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. But while you're doing that, just want to let you know that a PDF of this presentation, as well as a link for the webinar, will be available in a few days. We'll post it on our AWE webinar page, which is part of our resource library, and so that should be available shortly. And if you have additional questions that you might not have gotten the answer to today, or if you think of it after the webinar is over, you can also email Liam directly, and we will make sure you will get the answer to your question. We want to make sure that any lingering issues that you would like to see addressed get addressed, if not in this webinar itself, then by one of us later. And then my last comment is we will have our next webinar probably in late June. It'll be part of the AWE EPA WaterSense Outdoor Water Series. So more information on that will be coming soon. So stay tuned, and we will make sure that you get the notice in our regular email broadcast emails. So at this point, Liam, let's open it up for questions. What have you got?
All right. Thank you, Mary Ann. We've got a couple questions. First off, there's a question about any concern that the requirement for California agencies to be members of both AWE and CalWEP might discourage some agencies from joining.
Well, and Amy, I'd love some help with this too. I think we do know that there will be some sticker shock associated with the combined membership dues amount. The Alliance dues are quite a bit less than the California dues have historically been. We know the California dues are high. One of the benefits of trying to put together a chapter arrangement is to try to bring some of that cost down over time through savings in costs to the members. But at the moment, it's not able, we can't do that because we have to get back a lot of the members and the revenue that has been lost over the past several years. So we know there's going to be sticker shock. We know that some agencies won't have this number budgeted, even with the 10% discount. So if you find yourself in that situation where suddenly you see your dues number ratcheting up, especially if you're a water supplier, that's where the pain is especially serious. Give us a call. We can figure out ways to help make sure you stay a member, because we want you to be a member. We want to be able to phase in your participation. So if there's no way you can actually do it, give us a call. And I know, Amy, you've probably heard the same question from among the water suppliers in your region. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about that as well.
Yes, it's definitely something that's come up, and it's part of what we need to do in order to make this partnership work. And it's something that we've talked to even water suppliers in my area, and many of them have decided that the benefits that we kind of went over during this webinar will justify the increase in price. And that's something that the CalWEP board and the Alliance board too, we want to work together to make sure that this organization is providing benefits to its members to make a definitive difference in how things are being operated at the local level. And that's a task for us to undertake. We're asking people to give us this opportunity to prove ourselves, considering it is for some a substantial price increase, but I think that we can deliver. So we're asking people to take a leap of faith and to trust that we will make it worth it to them. And even with the 10% discount, there were some people still hesitating. So it's definitely understandable. We all know that budgets are what they are, and sometimes it's not possible. But we're hoping to get enough members to make that leap.
And especially for those California members who are on the fence, the framework requirements are going to dictate a whole new world of budgeting that heretofore you probably have not been experiencing. Adhering to and meeting the requirements of the new targets is going to require a substantial amount of coordination and discussion with your fellow water conservation professionals who are also struggling with the same topic. So the benefit of the network is we believe, worth the added investment.
We know the cost that implementing this pending legislation is going to far outreach the cost of the CalWEP membership, and we're hoping by being a member of CalWEP, we can at least reduce the cost of implementation through partnering, through leveraging, through research to finding out what works and what doesn't.
Okay. Next question is, what are the steps to be taken to join a committee?
Oh, that's easy. All you have to do is tell us which committee you want to join, and we will put you on that committee list. If it's an AWE committee, the structures already exist. So once you're a member in good standing, we just automatically add you to the list. The AWE committees meet every other month by conference call, and they meet in person at the Water Smart Innovations Conference in Las Vegas on the Tuesday before the conference starts. So that part is simple. It's a little more complicated on the CalWEP side. So if you're interested in being on the program committee for the California Water Efficiency Partnership, again, I think all you have to do is let me know. Either send me an email or Sarah Foley in our office and let us, either of us, know in the Sacramento office that you want to be part of a committee structure for the California Water Efficiency Partnership. We'll be finalizing the committee structure in the next month or so. In fact, we may announce some of it at peer-to-peer. If you're planning to be there in San Francisco at the end of the month, we'll probably have sign-up sheets there. So that would be, I think, a great place to indicate your interest as well.
Okay. Regarding the videos on financingsustainablewater.org, are we able to embed those videos directly on a website, or do we have to use a link, and do we have to contact someone at AWE to notify if that we are going to post those videos?
So the videos are open to link to directly. That you don't need any permission for, although we'd love to know. It's very helpful to us to know where the link is being viewed and being posted. It's a YouTube. We have a YouTube channel at the Alliance for Water Efficiency, so it's posted on our YouTube channel. We can also give you the video to embed directly if you like, and you will have to contact the Alliance office for that. And we can certainly help you with that. So again, Liam would be a great person to be the contact. You have his email address right there to ask him if you'd like to embed it directly or just use the link. So I think that's pretty straightforward as well. Because those videos were prepared and funded by a grant, we can make those easily available to you free of charge. We can also customize them for you. If you would like utility employees to have your utility logo on their shirts, if you'd like the customer's average water bill, which is a national average, be instead your customer's water bill in your district, we can do that as well. So there are customization options for those videos that are very affordable and inexpensive. And we can get your logo on the back slide of the video. All of those things are things we can arrange. So again, I would use Liam's email address there as your contact point.
Okay, here's another question that should be pretty straightforward. When will folks be invoiced for both memberships for fiscal year 19?
Okay, so here's the part I didn't cover, and I apologize for this. Both organizations have their calendar year as their fiscal year. So the memberships really run January 1st to December 31st. And we are aware that many water suppliers do all of their budgeting on a fiscal year basis. We're trying to convert them all into calendar year. Even though you pay on a fiscal year, we're trying to get it swung so that invoices are sent 1st of January, sent out to the membership, and then they pay in the fiscal year that they're in. However, there are some members that are still straddling fiscal years or straddling dates that are different than the calendar year. They haven't been moved yet fully to a calendar year basis membership. So those invoices, if you haven't already received them, they should be coming very soon. Almost all of the invoices, with the exception of San Diego County, have been emailed already and mailed, hard copy mailed. So if you have not gotten an invoice and you're a California member, again, let us know, because that you should have gotten an invoice by now. And if you haven't, maybe it's because you're in the fiscal year group, which will be invoiced soon, or maybe you're in San Diego County. They're still adjusting what percentage of the dues might be paid by the regional water provider there, the County Water Authority. But those should be the only ones that are still outstanding that haven't been sent.
All right. That's actually all we have for questions right now. I don't know if anyone else has a last minute question they want to type in, but otherwise we are all caught up.
Okay. Well, I want to thank very much Pete DeMarco and Amy Talbot for joining me in this webinar, and Liam, of course, for his ever good work in keeping the webinar logistics together. And I want to thank all of you for joining us. We will make this webinar available very shortly. So thank you again.